So a lawsuit that's been on the docket for almost 4 years finally getting its day in court. Today, opening statements started in Minnesota's case against e-cigarette maker Juul and its former parent company, Altria. Minnesota says the companies contributed to a rise in teen vaping by illegally marketing to underage users. But the companies say that's not true. Juul, in fact, has already settled thousands of similar lawsuits, but Minnesota is the first state to take this fight to trial. And while we wait to see how this plays out, we are already seeing how the fight about vaping is playing out in school. Here's Kent.
Janice, students and leaders with Minnesota's Tobacco-Free Alliance stood behind the Attorney General when he first announced this lawsuit 4 years ago. And even though it's just now going to trial, you can already see the progress that alliance has made.
It's my duty to not stand by while Juul tries to addict a whole new generation of our kids.
At the time of that lawsuit announcement in 2019, the number of kids and teens using e-cigarette products in Minnesota had never been higher. But in the 4 years since, students and advocates have stood up to do something about it.
They know now that it's not just flavors and water, which was how it was seen when Juul came on the market. They now know that there's a lot of nicotine in this.
Elise Levine-Less is executive director of the Tobacco-Free Alliance. She points to the Minnesota Student Survey, which shows in 2019, more than 1 in 4 Minnesota 11th graders and 1 in 10 8th graders reported using an e-cigarette in the past 30 days. 3 years later, those numbers were nearly cut in half, falling to just 14% and 6% respectively. She says lawsuits from Minnesota and other states have already helped prompt more federal oversight and educate students, but she says this is still a critical period.
It's going down. I think that's great, but there's still a lot of work to be done because Juul opened a Pandora's box of problems.
And she doesn't have to reach far for an example.
This is a mango Juul pod. This is no longer allowed to be sold.
While the FDA banned flavored e-cigarette pods like this made by Juul and others, she says it wasn't long before other companies started looking for loopholes.
It was a very tiny Band-Aid on a huge problem. But we have 15,000 flavored vape products on the market today that are not pod-based, that are disposable.
And she says those disposable products are now the most popular in schools.
This one is a rainbow candy vape. Now, the Juul had about 300 puffs in it of nicotine. This one has 5,000 puffs of nicotine. So now you have products on the market that are so much higher in nicotine than the Juul ever was.
Which is why, even though fewer Minnesota kids are trying them, more seem to be getting hooked. 70% are now showing signs of nicotine dependence, and despite the FDA's efforts, 88% of them report using flavored e-cigarettes.
And I've had kids say, I didn't realize how dangerous this was until I just couldn't stop. You need cessation funding for kids that are already hooked. You need education. You need policy change.
That's a lot. To address all three of those areas you just talked about, the Tobacco-Free Alliance is pushing for legislation in our state this year that would ban all flavored tobacco products, raise the legal age to 21, and commit any money from this lawsuit to prevention and treatment programs.